Hello and welcome to World Talks. I'm your host, Sasha Farbach. Now, as diplomacy around the war in Ukraine accelerates, President Donald Trump is set to speak directly with Vladimir Putin, claiming that only he can bring an end to the conflict. This comes after limited talks in Turkey, the first direct contact between Ukraine and Russia in over 3 years, and a record drone barrage on Ukraine that left civilians dead and cities reeling. Now, European leaders, including Germany's Friedrich Merz, are scrambling to coordinate with Washington ahead of the call, raising questions about NATO unity, Ukraine's leverage, and whether peace is truly within reach or being used as a political tool. With us now to unpack all these developments is Yevheniia Kravchuk, Deputy Chair, Ukrainian Committee on Humanitarian and Information Policy. Good to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Yevheniia, let's start with the idea of what does this planned call? It's supposed to happen on Monday, later in the afternoon today. What does that signal here between Trump and Vladimir Putin? And looking at what Trump has posted on Sunday, calling on his Truth Social and stopping the bloodbath, all in cap locks, what do we signal here from this conversation today?
Well, obviously, Putin wanted Trump to call him. That's why he sent the low-level delegation to Istanbul, and actually they behaved the way they behaved as you described. So basically, there is a set anecdote in international law that if you kill one person, you go to jail. If you kill thousands of people, you can get a call for the peace conference. In any case, the whole process of showing that Russia is not willing to negotiate or is not willing to start the war of aggression they started is actually, the whole thing to show Trump that Ukraine or Europe is not a problem there. There is just one problem. It's Kremlin, it's Putin and his will to fight forever.
Mm-hmm. And how do we take this? I mean, first, as we've been following this for months now, first Trump is involved, then he's not. He's trying to offer something, then he pulls it away. So this now, again, how seriously should we treat this latest addition here of Trump saying that there can be no peace without his direct involvement? Is this another sort of bargaining chip here? How do we assess this going forward?
Well, obviously, we will see some other ups and downs because it will be a long process, obviously. And I think it's a good thing that the European leaders actually called Trump before the conversation with Putin. We had some information that Prime Minister of Great Britain, Starmer, had a talk, Emmanuel Macron, President of France, I think Giorgia Meloni as well, from Prime Minister of Italy, had this conversation. And as well, President Zelensky had an in-person conversation with Vice President J.D. Vance in Rome in Vatican during the intronization of the new Pope. So obviously, we need to send the same signals from all of the countries, strong countries from the European continent, NATO allies, so Trump would hear the same things. Obviously, Trump will try to push for the 30 days ceasefire, and Ukraine was ready for many months for the ceasefire. Actually, we asked to have a ceasefire and then to have the talks, but Russia prefers killing civilians at the same time as pretending to have negotiations in Istanbul. But in any case, we also do hope to have this massive prisoners exchange, hopefully this week, and it could be 1,000 of families that will reunite with their loved ones.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to come on 2 points. First, I'll ask about European involvement. At this point, if we go back just a few months ago, Trump wasn't too keen really to have any European involvement. You're saying now there are calls directly with the White House. Is Trump, in your mind, is he listening more now to Europeans in all this? Is this something that he's taking on more seriously than he did before?
Well, obviously, the more conversations he has with Europeans, the better, because he cannot be isolated with European continent, and it's still the partner of United States. And I'm sure that Kremlin's aim is to disunite the allies. That would be their best dream, to have fightings inside of the Western allies camp. Well, obviously, Putin understands only the language of force, of strength, and that's why I'm pretty confident that if all of these coalition of the willing, of the daring, will not bring up something, Kremlin will just make fun of it. I don't know if you read the article of former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, Mr. Landsbergis, but he made a great statement that the statements, just the statements from European continent, will not get you anywhere. I mean, you have to be, follow with the deeds, the actions.
Mm-hmm. Following with deeds and actions, I want to also come back to the Istanbul talks. I mean, we already kind of alluded there that they were disappointing, but generally, how does this play out? I mean, this is significant, the first time Russia-Ukraine coming together in these direct negotiations. Do you assess them here as this is a step in the right direction? Was this a failure? Is this a part of a wider negotiation strategy? How do you assess and Turkey's role in this? How do you assess all this?
Well, by the way, Turkey's role is also important because actually Turkey is a very strong supporter of Ukrainian territorial integrity, and having such strong connections with Crimean Tatars. A lot of them live in Turkey. The kids of those who had to flee Crimea many years when Stalin was doing the genocide, and basically this also proves that it's not just the Europe, the old Europe that is supporting the international order. Turkey also says that Crimea is Ukraine, and there cannot be any negotiations on the territorial integrity. About the consequences, I mean, if we will have the return of 1,000 of people, the prisoners of war, and hopefully some civilians that are also in Russian basements, then it will be an important thing for Ukraine. But other than this, we see that Russia is not seriously ready for ending the war. And basically, that's where the sanctions should come in. And we're, of course, waiting for the EU package. I think it will be on the May 20th, and it will include the Shadow Fleet, of course, but also we need United States on board, and that's why all of these European leaders are calling Trump, saying that Putin is just trying to make fool of you. Trump wants to be a strong leader that brings peace to the world, or at least to this part of the world, and Putin is playing ridiculous, saying that Ukraine has to leave the territories that are not really even occupied because they put it into the constitution.
Mm-hmm. And just also towards the end here, closing, I mean, if we're looking at Donald Trump's, let's say, Truth Social from Sunday, I mean, also in his messaging that we can kind of discern, is there a shift here that you see from him being more on, let's say, a reasonable side, taking the Europeans into account, what Ukraine and what works for Ukraine more so than some months back? And we're saying the prisoner exchange, we're seeing the minerals deal. Is this a Trump that's coming around to more of a, let's say, a fair central position in Ukraine's side, or is that still too early to tell?
Well, we'll see how what will happen if Putin says no to either ceasefire or actually, the real conversation on the ending of the war was out of this absolutely, I don't know how we even call them, the conditions about the Ukraine has to leave its own territory that is not even occupied. So we'll see is President Trump is actually ready to use the sanction tool that he mentioned, and that Republican senator registered, this legislation in the Senate that is widely supported among Republicans and Democrats, basically putting the very high tariffs on every goods that are coming from Russia, and also it will include the secondary sanctions. That could be a quite important tool to be used. But again, the biggest the dream of Kremlin would be to United States, Ukraine, and Europe as partners and allies.
Right. So we'll have to see. I think much will depend on that phone call. Of course, that'll happen later in the afternoon. We'll be watching and also commenting on it, I'm sure. Thank you so much for that, Yevheniia Kravchuk. Really appreciate your insights
today. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay tuned. Much more news and commentary coming up right here on TVP World. Goodbye.